Hello and welcome to the Old World Show. We are back with a video first for quite a while. I've got Andy Oakham, my partner in crime, with me. Say hello to the tens of people watching, Andy.
Hello, all 15 people.
Hello, hello. And we've had quite a long time out. Real life has happened, and it has just been difficult to keep in touch with everything. The reason why we're doing this video is because we've just attended the Yuletide Battle for Yuletide at the TSN event. Now, Andy, I don't know about you, that is my favourite venue to play at the moment. We've only been to two events, and it's been fab.
The
What's your
TSN.
thoughts on it?
Yeah, it is. It's
TSN.
fantastic. He always puts on really good events there, Rob. Great venue, great setup, quality tables, quality boards, free drinks. Can't say
Yeah,
much about it.
and just great people. Just the atmosphere is so informal. It's so nice. The level of hobby as well is incredible.
Oh yeah,
Just
the level of hobbies are always really good there. People are passionate with what they take. I like that.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's the second event that we've been to, and now we can finally say that we have a certified GT winner in our ranks. Because who won the event, Andy?
It was we.
It was Andy.
Well, we,
Okay,
we we won the last one though.
I don't know that. Well, that didn't
Yeah.
count. I mean, to be fair, I'm fairly certain I cheated in all my games because I didn't know how to play.
No one
Um,
did. No one did.
exactly, so it doesn't really count. We were just rolling dice and having a good time. It was still a good time.
That's
It was still a
Warhammer.
good time. Exactly, yeah. And the reason I want to do this video, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the event. I wanted to get a little breakdown, if that's okay, of your games.
Yeah.
I'm sure people would like to know uh, how it went. Okay, and we can go from there. All right. So just lay the groundwork, Andy. What did you take?
So I took Tomb King's, specifically Mortuary Court. Do you want me to like, run through the list?
Yeah, go on, go for the. I will put it in the description as well, but just run through it.
So it was three. It was what? It's gonna be three. It was three level fours. They had the one level four who was on illusion. He had serpent staff, law familiar, and amulet, the poison amulet. Then I had a level four with the ruby ring and earthen rod. He was the general. I love the earthen rod, and it came to play quite a lot. And then I had a level four elementalism who was naked, and then a BSB as well on elementalism. Then I had a block of 50 skeleton archers with full command. Two units of five Ashapti, one was core, one was not, with great bows, four tomb swarms, eight skirmishers, and five horse archers, and then two tomb scorpions with the tomb swarms and the ambushes had and ambush. The tomb swarms and the skeleton skirmishers both had ambush to help reduce the drop count, and then two scorpions with ambush and terrors below because he ended up with 4 points left over, and then a casket of souls.
Lovely. Okay, brilliant. Just talk me through it. How did you? What was the genesis of this list? What was the thought behind it? Your thoughts actually coming into the event. I mean, I think there was a few issues with your original list idea, wasn't there? So
Yeah, so I was originally going to try and take the uh, the 110 skeleton cohort blob, um, which I'd had built and primed and partially painted, but I couldn't. I'd been ill for like 4 weeks. Now this is the fourth week. I just couldn't get it done. I couldn't get it finished. But also kind of thankful I didn't, because one reason or another, I didn't think it would have been right to take it. It was more of a case of just getting it to a tournament because no one. We've seen it online, haven't we?
mhm.
But no one's actually put it on the table that I've seen. And we tried it at a small event that we went to where there wasn't any painting comp, um, and it was fun to play with. I don't know how long that would last though. um, as it's got a bit of a bad reception, hasn't it? So,
Mm.
but anyway, I didn't get that finished, which also meant I didn't get my own just mortuary cult finish. I ended up having to borrow one of our friends' armies, and thankfully,
James Ramsey, who's been on
yeah,
the
yeah,
show.
yeah, James Ramsey,
Yeah.
yeah. Who'd conveniently left that army at the TSN event arena, so I could pick it up. I could bring it home for him as well, which I think I left in your car actually.
You did actually,
I
yeah,
did,
yeah.
yeah. So you took over.
Hmm.
But also it was pretty much the same. It was pretty much all the same models that we was using. So it was a list that we spoke about together as well. As a a sort of development from previous versions of the list, where we tried out the double casket and the leadership bombing stuff, and I didn't think that was reliable. James is the same. It wasn't really a reliable tactic. As much as it would hurt when it goes off, and it really does blow stuff up, but it's not reliable. And this version is more reliable. It's more of a control army where you're using the illusion guy to lock stuff up and to keep stuff at arm's length, and all the elementals will sort of buff some combos with the rest of your armor to make your kind of weak stuff stronger, both defensively and offensively, with Plague of Rust, Earthen Ramparts, and Travel Missile Pathways to get you moving. For an army that's already fairly quick with reserve move that Tomb Kings already have, just makes it a little bit more. Just takes up that even higher step to make the army even better.
Bro.
And that's how we got to there. So you started off with a couple of versions of it. One of the versions had a dragon in there, illusion dragon priest, and only one.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, only one level 4, and then the BS level 2 BSB. But you kind of do want that extra level 4 because they'll often has to go on the illusion guy, because that tree, you need the specific spells out of it. So the other ones have to go for the elementals. And if you want a couple of spells like you kind of want a TMP, you can play without it. It's not the end of the world if you don't get it. And Earthen Ramparts, Plague of Rust, you want some quite specific, and Wind Blast, obviously. Sorry, you want some quite a few good spells elementals, so rolling on it isn't too bad. So you want to just maximise how many rolls you've got on there to get some of the better spells.
Brill. So, shall we run through your games? And we'll start off with game 1. All right, where you played Matt Howley. Yeah, Matt Howley, who had his chaos. So I'm going to run through this very quickly. All right, run through the list, and then you can give us an idea of how it went. Is that all right?
Cool.
So Matt was playing with the Chaos Lord. It was on a Chaos Dragon. He had the Brazen Collar, Healing Potion, Crown of Everlasting Conquest, which is the coolest item name ever. Favor of the Gods, Enchanting Aura, and Poisonous Slime. He had a Sorcerer Lord, which was level 4, Bark of Zinch. He had a Chaos Steed, Ruby Ring of Ruin, Infernal Puppet, Spell Familiar. 19 Marauders with hand weapons, no armor. Mark of Chaos Undivided, and a Chieftain. We had 5 Forsaken, 5 Chaos Knights with the Mark of Nurgle. Forsaken had Slaanesh. 5 Marauder Horsemen with Flails and Chaos Undivided. 5 Marauder Horsemen with Flails, Chaos Undivided. Then we had 1 Dragon Ogre, then 2 Gigantic Spawn. All with the Mark of Nurgle, yeah. Scaly, but yeah, that's fine. So, talk me through it. Quite a nasty list in game 1.
Yeah, he was aggressive. Aggressive. I was worried about that dragon because the skeleton poison block of archers with the Tomb Kings there, that's there to try and take down large targets. Now it doesn't do it in one go. Most stuff it's not doing enough wounds unless they're very lightly armored. So that thing with a 3-up save, 5+ regen, 5+ ward, I was like, that's going to take a while to get through. I did roll Plague of Rust, which does help that. But yeah, I was a bit worried how he'd play it. So it was either a case of psychologically he was going to be, looking at the army going, right, you've got the block, we're meant to kill big things, maybe he'll stay away or try and take a long route round to get to my army. But no, not Matt. No. He'd set up completely opposite me and was like, I'm running at you. I'm going to run straight at you and try and cap you in the knee. And I was like, oh no, I don't want you to do that. So he literally sat opposite me. I think I ended up dropping down first. And the thing with my list is it's not really got throwaway units to like, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Wherever I start placing units is going to telegraph where my army is going to be, and I need to centralize around the casket. The casket isn't pivotal to the army, but it helps a lot with its buff plus its ability to get the +1 to cast and stuff like that. So I kind of want to be in a little bit of a bubble to begin with to get the most out of the army. So I place a couple of units down, like some Shakti and the big block and stuff, and then eventually the casket's going to go in a nice, neat area where it won't get killed. So yeah, I was giving him a big tell where I was going to deploy, and he's literally just went opposite me, dragging right there, and went for it. So, and then that's what happened. He came straight at me. What happened in this game is he I did some wounds to the dragon to start with. I think I did 3 or 4 wounds. Then he had the healing potions to heal them all back. I was like, damn, I forgot about that healing potion. But I had to get rid of that dragon because he was about to charge in and sit with a block, which is fine. That's what the block's for, is to hold you up. But he had a lot of other big creatures, which I can need the block to help with, like those gigantic spawn, because they can kill the gigantic spawn a little bit easier with a 5 up and only 6 wounds. But this dragon was right in my face, so the game went on anyway, and he had a bit of a bad turn of rolling with the saves with the Plague of Rust on his lord, and then he moved super close right in front of me, and then he got miasma locked by the illusion priest, so he was stuck there, and then that let me deal with like the gigantic spawn and then the other stuff that slowly came, and then the column of crystal helped block off his marauders and one of the dragon ogres on one side, and it kind of just slowed him down too much at that point. So he had a good 2 turns of coming at me, then he got completely slowed down, and then I was able to use the shooting to just pick up bits here and there, and then it was just a grind away at his army after that.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a good game, and it was scary to start with as well, with him just fully going at me. He's a very aggressive list.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And the puppet as well is interesting for chaos, because I'm not too worried about rolling low, because Mortuary quite ridiculous. You can get +8 to cast. So rolling a 1 or a 2 is about 2 lowest dice out of the 3 is fine. You're still casting at 11, so that's pretty much every spell going off anyway. But I'm more worried about miscasting and then not getting to cast for the rest of the turn, and that's why I was trying to cast with the Earthen Rod guy first, because he's got the reroll on the table. So I want to get anything less than anything a 7 or less is not going to stop my magic phase, and I can carry on going. So if I get anything 8 or over, which is going to stop the magic phase, even though it makes the spell cast automatically or irresistible force, I'm going to reroll it to try and get less than a 7, take the damage because I can heal it back, but then be able to carry on casting spells. So,
bro.
And I think it happened a couple of times as well.
Okay, bro. So what was the score in that one?
I think it was 18-2.
18-2. Okay. Well, like, it certainly sounds like it's like I say, an aggressive, fast-paced game, which is always good. It's what you want to see in the first game, isn't it? All right. So really strong start. Now you are going into your second game, where we played a very good friend of the channel, Richie, from Dowie After Dark. Do you want me to run through his list?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bro.
I want you to sing the song actually.
Dowie After Dark. Yeah, it's cool. You know what? I actually can't when you hear it, it's so catchy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had Anvil of Doom. Sorry, I should say Sacred Royal Clans. It's his usual list, but if you don't know what it is, I'll go through it. It's an Anvil of Doom with a Rune of Adamant, Rune of Cleaning. He has a Runesmith with 3 runes of spell breaking. He's also the BSB because Royal Clans, so he can take Master Rune of Grugny and Rune of Battle. He's then got a King with Shield Bearers, Master Rune of Smiting, Master Rune of Gromril, Rune of Preservation, Rune of the Furnace. And then he has 28 Longbeards with everything. They also have Drilled. The Elder Champion has Rune of Passage that gives a move through cover. And then they have a Standard Bearer with the Stroller's Rune, a Rune of Courage, and Rune of Battle. So it gives them Vanguard, automatic pass Fear and Terror, and a +1 combat res. He's then got our Dwarf Cart, Grudge Thrower with a Rune of Forging, and then 18 Iron Drakes, and they have Drilled, Trollhammer, Torpedo, and Cinderblast Bombs. They have a Standard Bearer with the Rune of Courage as well. So just a stubborn brick of an army to get points out of. Tell me how it went.
Well, that's the thing is with the dwarves, is that it can be really hard if they play it that way to get anything out of the army, because you've got those 2 big bricks which have got some really good saves and
well muted. That was beautiful censorship.
I've done like 3 times so far.
It's amazing.
They've got these 2 bricks, and then you've got the buff from the anvil, which makes them really tough for my army to get any kills out of. When playing against the dwarves, Thankfully, to start with, anyway, the mission we played was the Mounted Pass, which he comments on his channel as well, and his after review thing was at first I was like, shit, I was like, he's going to be able to he's got less, being narrower, he's got less space, you can just fan out and get in and just touch something. All he wants to do is touch something, and then I was like, it's going to be a bit difficult then. But then obviously he was going the opposite way, thinking that, well, I've got loads of space behind me here so that I can move back and be out of his ranges. And as soon as I started deploying, actually, I saw that I was actually, this is fine. The deployment map with the terrain we played on was fine with the house where it was, because I could put my horse archers behind that house, because it was touching like the deployment line and then backwards, so it gave me some room a bit further away so my horses could hide there. The purpose of those is for when he charges in marching column, is that I can go try miasma. He's going to use his dispel scroll. I could try column of crystal, dispel scroll. He may dispel scroll reserve move, which is why I always do anyway now, but I always take 2 reserve moves in my spells, one on the Lord, one on my general, for the 12-inch bubble, and then either on the BSB for the 12-inch again, or on one of the level 4s. It depends what I roll. But I always want to have 2 because it's such an important spell. It's like the most important spell I cast to be able to get my armor to move about. So anyway, I think he might have scored one of those, so it stops me getting away from him. And then the if he's in marching column, I can use the skeleton horses to come over and just do a horseshoe around him, so he can't drill outwards and charge. So if all else fails for spells, he's stuck there anyway. So I had that all prepared up anyway, prepped up, and I was happy with that. But the biggest thing is really, how do I kill anything and get much out of it to get any points rather than being a draw. Thankfully, he failed to cast his armor ruin turn 1, which then allowed me to kill, I think it was 7 dwarves or 8 dwarves in the first turn, which at first you're like, that's not a lot of models, but
that is a lot, yeah.
That's a big chunk, isn't it? Because I think it only starts off at 25?
28 longbeards he has. But like, I mean, regardless, I mean, if you kill 8 longbeards in a turn, you're doing really well. Yeah.
So killing that chunk to start with then made me think, because I could either get that unit locked up and ignore it by either having it in combat with my brick of 50 skeleton archers with no characters in, and then just sit at the sides of it so he can't drill out, so he's not going to get all the attacks that he can combat res and kill it, so he'll never kill it. And then concentrate on trying to kill his stuff at the back. But then that would be Iron Drakes, who are then going to be rerolling saves and etc. And that's going to be really tough to get through. His Anvil is obviously impossible to kill because I can't use my poison block to do it because it's toughness 10, and they're going to be locked up with his Longbeard, so he's going to be the Shapti just trying to roll 6s with AP1, AP3 at that point. It's going to be a grind. So anyway, with him failing that, it made me then think, actually, I'll have to just do the Longbeards in and get them down to 25% if I can. Or if I kill him, obviously, it would be better. But keep him away from his Anvil buff, so he's not going to get the rerolls and stuff, which is easy to do when he gets aggressive and gets right into me, especially on this map even more so. And that's what happened. Is he dispelled the important ones that stop him from moving, and had 1 score left. And then it was an important turn of my spells was I needed to cast. I had to get off both spells, and he had 1 scroll, and I failed to cast miasma because of the magic res 2. I rolled it, and I got it on I rolled like a 12, and I was like, 12 minus 2, if your magic res 10, and he goes, you need 11 to cast. And I was like, do you know what? It does. But because you don't even think, because you're so used to casting spells on ridiculous numbers, you kind of failed to cast. I was like, shit, I failed to cast miasma. I was like, oh no, that's big, because then he's gonna dispel scroll the column. And just before that, actually, in fact, sorry to backtrack, is that he drilled in his turn 2. He drilled forward 12 inches because he put his cart behind. Drilled forward 12 inches and was an inch away from a unit of a Shapti who only had not a massive distance to go behind before they touched the board edge.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, right, okay. So I failed that. And I was like, the last thing I can do then, he dispels scrolled column of crystal. Last thing I can do is use the horse archers to surround you. And I went to do that, and he goes, actually, something you've missed here. And I was like, what? He's just like, you killed too many dwarves, not in marching column. I was like, no. I was like, are you kidding? No. I was like, that's my get out of jail free card. And he's like, not in marching column. I was like, oh, well, to start with, you need to be 4 inches back then. So
Yeah.
that gives me more room. So you
Yeah.
need 4 inches back. I was like, right, okay, so we're 5 inches away here. I can move back. I couldn't move back 2.5 inches and reserve 2.5 inches because I could touch the board edge. It left him with a 6 inch charge and he'd get to the Shapti. So at that point, I was like, oh no. Well, it comes down to you rolling that, and then you get the 245 points for those, and then it becomes difficult because he'll
Mm.
probably overrun off the table to stay off for a turn of shooting of mine.
Yeah.
So that leaves me with one less turn trying to shoot and chip him away, and then he'll come
Mm-hmm.
back on. And anyway, he failed the charge. He got a 5. So he
Oh,
failed the charge, and then that was it. Then he was then miasma locked and all these things,
yeah.
and then I just chipped away at him, and I eventually killed the Longbeards and the BSB, and did a couple of wounds on the king, and won by that. It was a 14-6 in the end. From
14-6.
that.
Okay. Okay. So like, but potentially that was a bum clenchy moment by the sounds of it for
Yeah,
yourself.
so unless when he came on that turn after that, and I just spiked and killed him,
Yeah.
because you come back on and then be stuck anyway. But he'd have had
Mm.
245 points, and
Yeah.
if I had then done X amount of damage and got the points that way, but probably not.
No, probably not.
I would have done the 25%. It probably would have been a draw at that point. Probably been a
Mm.
10-10.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But it sounds like a really good game. I've played Richard myself, and it's always a real good laugh.
Lovely guy to play.
Um,
Absolute
yeah.
blast. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolute
Real
blast.
good. Brill. All right. So next, you had Nicholas Boucher with probably the other list that was getting like a lot of talk at the weekend. There was the Mortuary call. There was
Yeah.
this as well. So it was actually quite an interesting game to watch. Really, really quite technical. I'll run through it. So it had a Goblin War boss. Who was in a wolf chariot, trollhard trousers, meteoric iron armor, and the thinking orc's hat. We had Night Goblin, big boss. It was a BSB. He had a Wallopers big one. Oh, sorry, Wallopers one hit wonder. I hate the way that's written. I can't read this. I can't read orcs writing. We had a Night Goblin odd knob, who's a level 4 on fungus with on foot with fungus wine, ruby ring of ruin and war magic. We had Night Goblin odd knob level 4 again, pretty much the same. Fungus wine, idol of gork, war magic. We had a troll orc weird knob level 4 on foot, law familiar power scroll, glowy green amulet and elementalism. Then we had 87 Night Goblins, okay, with short bows, netters, 3 fanatics, full command. 30 Night Goblins with shields and hand weapons and 3 fanatics. Then we had 6 Night Goblin Squid Hopper mobs, 5 Night Goblin Squid Hopper mobs, 5 Night Goblin Squid Hopper mobs, and then 2 Doom Diver catapults. So, talk me through this.
Well, first off, Nicholas is a really really nice guy. What a guy. He had little wines for his fungus wines and stuff like that. So in this game, obviously, we had very similar lists. I know a couple of them came over and said, like, wow, what a boring game this is. And actually, it wasn't. When you're playing it, obviously, if you're playing it just mindlessly, yeah, fair enough. And you're going to go for a draw because you could stand off each other and do nothing. But when you try to seek out a win, that's where it became interesting and a bit more technical. So obviously, he did 150 points to win. And he didn't have like just so he had like 3 of these swig hoppers which are like 56 points each. The doom divers are like 90, which were hiding obviously behind a hill, behind a house. I'm sorry, behind a house, and he wasn't going to just throw his swig hoppers at me. He'd present me with the big blob. And then he had that unit of 30 goblins at the side, which had some fanatics in. So depending on how aggressive you want to be with the fanatics, and that 30-man goblin unit, I thought that 30-man goblin unit is my path to victory. Easier to kill than 100. which are probably going to be buffed up with elementalism and stuff. And if he wants to be a little bit more aggressive with those fanatics, that's the unit I can kill to get the points to get the win, and then offer him nothing, unless he gets lucky and kills my casket with his Doom Divers. So that's basically how the game went. He was aggressive-ish with the 30-man Goblin unit. He came out with it so that I could then shoot it on a hill as well with my bowman. So to get the 2 ranks firing at it. I fanned my unit rather than be 10 wide, 5 deep. I went like I can't remember how wide it was, wide, to be able to shoot as much bowman as I could. I've had a few warning shots into his blob to kill a few guys there, just to see what was going to happen with what he's going to do. It killed like 20. It just didn't even look like the unit shrank at all. So then I managed to, when he presented his main goblin unit, managed to then pepper it with loads of shots, and that whittled down really quick because I had no buffs on it or anything like that. And then he released the fanatics out mid board, and then realised that this unit of goblins was going to go down, so he turned it round. And then I managed to keep firing at it, and it got it down to, I think, 12 models.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I'd brought on my horse archers and scouted from behind a forest, which was opposite the house that he had his goblin Doom Divers behind, which were protected by 5 or 6 squigs. So I took the archers around there to just fire at him, freely fire at him, with protection from the house, from the rest of his army, and threaten the charge. So he had his squigs just dancing about, but the squigs have no armor. So when I was shooting the bows at them, they were just falling away. And he was like, he'd get down to 2 models, run those away, replace them with another unit to keep me honest. Then I had the ambushes from the scorpions come on, and I was like, I can't give him these because it's 75 points. They could die easily to something here if he dedicates his squig hoppers at them. So I just put them on the opposite side of the board in the corner, over 60 away from his Doom Divers, so you couldn't shoot them, and just hid those so he didn't get easy points from them. And his horse archers caused him no end of hassle. So he eventually had to make the play. He had to travel mystical pathways, his big blob, on the corner of the other side of the board, next to the house, which is like a 6-inch path down the side of his house. He had to put it next to the board edge, but over 2 away, so I didn't just wind blast him off the board.
Yeah.
And then shoot to these horse archers, but he couldn't get much to see them because of this narrowness of this path. So he shot a few at him. Anyway, he killed 4 and left 1 alive, and even one horse.
No.
even one horse is actually scary for a Doom Diver catapult in combat. So that was him there, which then left him open in the middle of the board, which then left me travel mystical pathways, my blob, into the middle, and finish off his unit of night goblins, unit 12, because I could then use my wind blasts. And I ended up with I took the illusion spell. That's the really rubbish. You take illusion test, or if you pass it, you take D3 strength 3 hits. So if you fail, it's like D3 plus 3 strength 3 hits. But against goblins, with no armor, anything's better than nothing. And so I concentrated them in the Ashapti and everything, and finished the unit 12 off. So then I was happy I got the points. And then it was on him then to make a move. Now, during all of this, every turn, one of his Doom Divers would misfire. It was like you couldn't write it. It was ridiculous. And he would roll a 3 every single time. I think it was a 3. Whatever it was, he would take a wound and not be able to fire for a turn. So his Doom Divers were just doing this constantly. He would switch the bases and turn around like, this can't fire, this turn. Anyway, that actually was what also helped me, because at the end of the game, one was on 1 wound, the other one was on a wound, and one of them obviously misfired and killed herself. And
Oh no!
And that was it. But with him teleporting over anyway, on his turn 3, I think it was, over to that side and opened up the mid table for me, because he had the mid table first, because he went first and teleported there. We were just stood off each other. I then, because I got to teleport in the middle, I could then get to his squigs, so I could kill the 3 inches of squigs, and then he had to teleport back over to a spot he could, and then help stand off. And then again with the reserve move stuff, he could just twitch around a bit, and he wouldn't be able to charge me with his blob, because I didn't want that to happen anyway. He had some combat guys like Guy Chariot, stuff like that in there. I didn't want him whacking my priests. So the game ended 12-8. Was it 12-8?
I'll just about, I think it was like 11-9, wasn't it? It was very, very close. Let me have a look.
Pretty sure. Pretty sure.
12-8, yeah, 12-8.
Yeah. So it was obviously very, very close, as in win. He killed the last horseman, by the way, in the end, and so he got the 55 points there, and then I just got like the two units of squigs I got, and then that unit of night goblins. So really hard to get any points out of him. It, you know, it's a good army, that goblin one. Good army.
Definitely,
And he was
definitely, yeah.
a really good player as well. He knew exactly what he was doing, knew his rules, knew his stuff. He was the only guy who actually said as well, because obviously the bookkeeping for my army is a pain. I used my phone because I didn't have any paper, annoyingly, and I just wrote down, blue priest, red priest, whatever the other club priest was, and then BSB, and blue, red, white, and then BSB.
Yeah.
And then I'd write down next to it the spells I had. He's the only person who said, "Can I take a picture of your spells so that you've got?"
Yeah.
So he could keep track and see what was coming at him. Now, obviously, everyone was in the same blob anyway. It didn't really. I wasn't like moving my priests about, so it wasn't to keep track that way. But I thought it was quite interesting that he was managing the game that way.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that brings you on to your at the end of day one, 3 solid wins, which is really good. Feeling really good about day 2, I'm sure. All right, we went to our mate's house, didn't we? And we failed to get any sleep. Ready for Sunday.
I had a great night's sleep.
Yeah, I know you were on my airbed. Yeah, you were on my airbed, and I was on the couch. But there's a reason for that. I can't sleep in that airbed. But I'm, glad that you got use out of it.
Yeah, it was lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, I felt awful. Right, so it brings you on to game 4, and you actually played someone that I played earlier, Matt Crawford, who beat me. All right, in day 1, and I'll run through it. He was using Wood Elves. Okay, so he was taking the Glade Lord with a Forest Dragon, Talisman of Protection, Ogre Blade, Befuddlement of Mischiefs, and an Annoyance of Netlings. He had a Spellweaver level 4 and a Warhawk, Oaken Stave, Ruby Ring, and Battle Magic. He had a Spell Singer level 2 on a Steed, a Resplendence of Luminescence, and Law Familiar. We then had 5 Glade Guard with Hagbane tips, 8 Deepwood Scouts and 8 Deepwood Scouts with Hagbane tips, 8 Glade Riders that had the Banner of Midsummer's Eve, and they also had Hagbane tips, 2 units of 5 Sisters of the Fawn. Did you get revenge for your best buddy?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, this is going to be an interesting game because Wood Elves obviously are quite a very tactical army. They're very hard to get hold of. So obviously being his own wood, no terrain, no line of sight blocking, and I don't have any outside shooting. I was unsure how he was going to play it. I was like, is he going to hide and just peep out? But I know that my army is immune to chip damage. There's nothing he can't do his usual chip damage tricks, which is what Wood Elves want to do. And he only had 2 units of Sisters, and he only had 1 pillar of fire No, he only had the 2 pillars of fire. I think. I don't think he. No, he did. He had 3 pillars of fire. Sorry. But I was like, well, if he's going to hide and do that, I'm going to teleport forward and get my level 4 within range and just dispel those that way. And stop pillars of fire just trying to just dance around my casket or wherever he might go for. Tomb Swarms, I think, is what he should have gone for if he was going to do that. Because they're like 200 points. They're also very pivotal to my army. So he deployed defensively a bit, and I was like, okay, so he's going to hide. He's got a dragon on one side with unit Sisters and a unit Glade Guard, and then on the other side he's got his forest next to the other forest, and then the rest of his army. And I got to scout first, so I put not that I think he would, but I scouted my horses behind the forest that I was nowhere near on the opposite side of the board, just to keep him where he was. And then he put his scouts in his little castle behind with all this other stuff in his forest. And it was the mission of capture the middle, so it's like 200 points to the middle. And he had a similar drop count to what I could have had, but I didn't want to go first. I wanted him to go first so that I could get the last turn to shoot him if he went for the middle, or get 200 points myself. And I went it that way. So I was going to play on that. If he did hide and came out, he'd do that, or he'd not, and I'd get 200 points and he'd win that. Something like that. But anyway, as the game started, not a lot happened. But he went super aggro with his dragon turn one, and I moved it right behind the middle house thing. And I thought, right, he's going to dance around the house and sit there. Okay, that's fine. But he then he didn't. He then decided. So I moved some Shapti over and shot him. I don't think I did anything. He didn't evade backwards. He didn't evade backwards either. Then in his turn two, he then moved it like 20 again right next to me. But he was within my asthma range. So I put my priest in the skirmishing unit rather than the blocks that had to have 360 vision to be able to miasma him, because he could move fast and he also had arcane urgency. But he didn't have his warhawk level 4 anywhere near his dragon to do that. And he just forced on his dragon at me. And I'm not sure if it was because he didn't know what to do with it or to keep me honest. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So I just miasma locked him, and his dragon's not that tough. It's just got a 4 up, 5 up, and that's it, and 9 wounds. So it's like it's one of the most easiest large creatures to kill, dragons wise anyway, from shooting stuff. Hard to kill in combat because it's got that weird stuff it does with the mouse weapon skill and mouse taint challenges. But then so I just turned around and just blasted it. I didn't kill it in a turn. I took it down to like 3 wounds, and then he went to move it, but didn't realize how ridiculous miasma was. It's like, yeah, it's minus to move. You can't march. You're just stuck. And he was like, oh shit. But then he moved it one way to then get a good flame on my skirmishers. Did a bunch of wounds, but then I double wind blasted him, and he went off the table. So at that point, I was like, well, you can't. I was like, there's not enough pressure now to do anything. He realized after the first few turns, like chip damage is pointless, and kind of just threw his treatment out and stuff just to try and I don't know, have a bit of fun with it. And yeah, it went from there. One of the things that was important, I think, as well, early game on turn 1, is he had his level 4 of Warhawk, which is actually quite. I like this actually. Shot at, he could evasive backwards and hide behind his trees and stuff. But because he had the rest of his army behind that forest, if at certain angles I shot him and he did evasive, he would end up going off the board because he ended up going through all his units. So I was like, oh shit. So I TMP'd, I think, my Shapti to one side to be at that awkward angle. Should he go through all his Glade Guard, his Glade Riders, because obviously Unit 8 is quite big, and he'd end up off the board. So he either did that or he took the damage. And unfortunately for Matt, he rolled a double 1 on his terrain test when he moved into the forest to start with. He'd already took a wound. So I shot the Shapti. Like, well, I'm going to have to take it. I'm going to have to just try and roll. He had Oaken Shield. I'm going to try and roll a 5 and 1, and hopefully I survive. And he did. He rolled a 5 and survived. But then next turn, he moved and shoved about, and he did the same thing again. He was like, oh
no.
And then I went over another bit, and then I shot him again, and he was. But this time, he didn't really do it so much again. But this time, he didn't measure it. If he rolled a 6, and remember, he got picked the highest. If he rolled a 6, he would touch his Blade Riders at that point, and then would have been off the board. So he's like, right, I'm gonna have to try because I can't chance again taking the saves. And he rolled a 6. But it just adds to the fact with the dragon stuff as well. It was going that way for him.
Yeah, fair enough.
And after that, it was just a case of just killing stuff. And all that was at the end of the game, all that was left was the Deepwood Scouts.
Nice. Okay.
And it ended a 19-1, I think that one.
Yeah, it was a 19-1. Okay. So that leaves you going into the final round, and I think probably feeling quite confident at this point, right? I mean, I had 4 good games.
They're 4 good games, yeah. And the last round, I wasn't sure who was playing. Because at first, I thought I was going to play Tom Carley with his Chaos Dwarves. But then there was a few. Then there's
a few people on 3 and 1, 3 and a draw, I think.
And there's a 2 high elf players, weren't they, on a draw, and I think they were playing each other.
Yeah.
I think that's what we do. Yeah, and so I was like, oh, but those lists came actually quite awkward because they both had, I believe, like the unkillable dragon stuff, which 2 up save, 5+5+. I was like, that's too much. I'm not going to shoot that at all. and depending on obviously how they play it, it's gonna be hard to. I can't get it into a miasma lock and
Mm.
keep it shut down and keep it honest. So yeah, I ended up playing
It was
Singe.
Singe. Yeah, Singe Frost. I'll run through his list. All right. So he had the Unkillable Star Dragon,
Mm.
which has the Talisman of Protection, Dragon Helm, Seed of Rebirth, so it's 5 up regen, 2 Opal Amulets, and Pure of Heart. He then had level 4 Wizard called Rudolph, on a Lothern Sky Cutter, with Silvery Wand, Ruby Ring of Ruin, the Lawmaster's Cloak, and Seed of Rebirth. And that had he also had Seaguard and Battle Magic. Then he had 8 longbows, which is named Santa's Elves. I love it when people like theme stuff. It's cool. But eight archers, longbows. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Then we had uh, something called Donna with a cavalry bow. Do you know what that is?
It was just
It doesn't actually say the unit; it's just the name.
it was the basic
Was
chariot,
it a chariot?
Tauret chariot.
Oh, the Tyrannot chariot. The Tyrannot chariot. So we've got 2 of them. There was one called Donna, one called Blitzen, with cavalry spears, and we had again.
Twin Cypress.
I assume these were skycutters. It's
Mm.
kind of I don't know why it's not got the unit type on it, but that's cool. With cavalry spears and short bows, and then we had 10 Sisters of Avalon. I'm presuming because they've got bows of Avalon.
It's
Is that right?
giveaway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a giveaway. Okay, right, all right, Brill. So a Christmas themed list for a Christmas themed event. How did it
Yeah,
go?
I was half expecting for him to produce like loads of proxy models that were like Christmassy themed and stuff, but they were old school. They
Hmm.
were old school elves in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Skycutters are
interesting.
cool models, though, too bad.
The sky cuts, and it had actual sky cuts as well,
Yeah.
so that's even cooler. Very old school,
Hmm.
impossible to get hold
Hmm.
of, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I
um,
should say Andy keeps muting himself because he's dying of the plague still
yeah,
after about 4 weeks.
this week
So
four.
apologies, but yeah, is it 4? Yeah, so it's
This is
3
fourth.
last week.
This is
So
the
yeah,
fourth week. So yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
my
his
bad.
list interesting. Then, so he had a lot of stuff that was easy to kill, apart from the dragon, and I was a little bit worried, like depending on how he plays this dragon, because I know he's going to have arcane urgency. Um, is yeah, is the thing really. So, but at the start of the game, anyway, he didn't like my army at all, and he was convinced he couldn't do a thing, and he deployed in the far corner, super defensive. His dragon was like touching his corner, and I was like 6 inches away the other way. And then he had, because he had such a big army, he fanned out across the entire table with units. And he got turn one, and was like, I don't know what to do. And I just said to him, I was like, "Is it my go?" And he just said, "Yeah, go on, you go." I was like, "Right." Anyway, he'd left some stuff in line of sight, so we twitched those back a little bit, and so I couldn't just get some easy kills for no reason. And then I just moved about. I think I killed one unit of 5 archers that I could see a bit of
Mm.
behind a hill that's straight in front of me. I think I moved, I think a TMP to one side a little bit and
Hmm.
just shot it with some ruby ring and some bows, and it's like 5 archers. They just sort of die quite easy because they've got no armor. And then in his go, he then decided to just make a run for it. So he then threw everything out. But obviously, being
Hmm.
far away, he only really made it over the house that he was behind, because the house is like 10 inches by 10 inches. And then was like, "Yeah, you'll go." And so that then allowed me to kill like 2 of the sky cutters, because the Shapti just kill the sky cutters super easy.
Hmm.
They're toughness 4 with 4 wounds and a 4 up save. And the Shapti's great bows are damage 2, AP 1, and then armor bane 2 on the 6. So they kill those rather really easily. So I picked up 2 of those, and I made sure and because the arcane urgency this dragon right around the corner to sort of threaten me, I made sure I just was 19.1 away from it, and out of line of sight, so he couldn't do anything. And then my scorpions came on, and part of the back corner of his to threaten his stuff in the back corner that was not going to really kill them back easily. And then in his go, he then threw the dragon right behind me. Yakino just did it right behind the hill that was in the middle of the hills were in the middle of the table opposite each other, and I had my casket behind my hill, and he just literally put it an inch away from my casket. But again, playing a dragon, I put my priest in the skirmishing unit so I could 360 miasma if he comes close. And again, I don't know if you didn't know about miasma or think about it, but I didn't measure it anyway. So I just then was just like, yep, full miasma lock on the dragon, and that was the dragon out of the game for 3 turns. And I just ignored it because I was never going to kill it, so I just completely ignored it. Just moved around it, as it were, and then just peppered away at the rest of his stuff. I just killed the stuff that was easy to get points. So I killed the 2 torrent chariots, the 3 sky cutters, and then a couple of unit 5 elves. He killed the 2 scorpions in the back. They didn't really do anything, which was a shame. One of them charged his level 4 on the sky cutter, and he killed me on Overwatch. So I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He had the big bow on that one.
Yeah.
He didn't have any other ones. He had this big bow on the level 4 mages, and it hit for once. It didn't hit anything, not in a barn door the entire game, but it hit once and on the Overwatch. And
You mean sand shoot for 40k hang up? Do you mean sand shoot?
did I say Overwatch? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And he got the D3 wounds. He got the full 3, and then got me with one of the short bows. I was like, okay, fair enough. So he got the 2 scorpions, and I think he got 5 horsemen, and then I just got the chariots. His level 4 was on 2 wounds left, so he went on his turn 6, just hit it behind the house, way away, and we left it there. That was it.
Yeah. Okay, and that was a what score was that? Let's have a look.
It was a 12-8 as well.
Yeah, 12-8, 12-8. Okay. All right. So that left you with a coveted 5-0 record. And yeah, you won the event, which is well done.
Okay.
All right. So very quickly, I mean, time's getting away. I want this to be a half-an-hour video, and we're on 50 minutes, so I don't want to spend too much time on this. But very lastly, one thing that we sort of talked about, something that I've struggled with, obviously playing against Mortuary, is the psychological impact that it does have. Because I think if you're going in there, you said about your second to last opponent, Matt, realizing that chip damage is just immune to it. You need to look for other avenues. How much do you think the psychological impact that Mortuary has on your opponent actually contributes to you winning games? Do you think it's a big thing, or do you think it's people need to shift their mindset? Maybe what do you think is the problem there?
Yeah. So the last 2 games, the 2 games I had, the game 4 and 5, was similar. Is that both players were very much horrible army to face is the Mortuary. Obviously, Matt realised that mid game. He said it was a tough game to start with, but realised mid game that the tactics of his army weren't going to work against it. And then the same in the last game is that it didn't see any avenues to beat it, which is why he just didn't do anything turn 1, play defensively, and then just decided turn 2 to then start sending stuff out for whatever reason. Is that I think when people look at the army, sometimes you can just say well, there's nothing I can do, and just give up, or have a negative mindset into it. And I think if that's the case, then you're probably going to lose if you're thinking of it like that, because you're not. But depends what you're there for, really. So if you're playing against an army where you feel like that is the case, and you're wanting to win.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've just got to think outside of the box. So your normal play style isn't going to work here. For example, not picking on the high elves, for example, but he may be a case of in his normal game methods. I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just using his arm as an example. Is that he's got this unkillable dragon, he throws that out, nothing can kill it. Within reason. It's very hard. He's got 2 lots of 2+ invulns to stop against monster slayers. You're not getting it that way. It's really tough to crack, and that thing can just cause all sorts of havoc. And whilst the rest of his army can pepper you from afar, and then he's got the 3 sky cutters, which then go in and do the aftermath damage as well.
Hmm.
That might be his normal playstyle, but and just be able to just literally go straight at somebody. I don't know, but if that's your normal playstyle and it's not going to work against one army, because you got to try and think what in this army here what can I kill, what can I do to mitigate damage and to just get some points out of it. Now, if I'm playing against Mortuary Cult, the thing that's easy to kill, because the Mortuary Cult do it themselves, is the swarms. The swarms are like 200 something points. They're very important to the Mortuary Cult's magic system.
Yeah, yeah.
They cost. There's 4 of them usually. I prefer 5, but it's quite hard to get them. It's usually 4. They kill them down to like 1 model every turn, and heal them back up again. They kill them down to 1 model every turn to get all the spells they want to. No, not always the case. Sometimes it's 2 models left. You're doing about 9 to 12 wounds on the unit to get the buff, to get the pluses to the casts. But if you kill them, that it makes a big difference. They're really tough as 2. They're very weak. They're 5 wounds, but with a 6+ regen, they are flammable, I believe, as well. So if you do something to try and get to them, a lot of Mortuary Cult players, I did it myself, put them in really bad positions, because you then teleport away from them or reserve move away and put them, and you leave them out in the open. You're thinking, oh, I hope my opponent doesn't see that. And you don't get punished for it. But if you're constantly on the lookout for something like that, that's an easy kill. They're not going to be hiding behind a hill like a casket is, which you want to try and kill. They're going to be out moving about near the priests. So just looking for avenues like that of where can I get some points, and maybe then if you've not got the ability to just get points from afar in ways that aren't just charging or with units that are fairly slow or aren't skirmishing flyers and things like that, maybe that's relook at the list then and then take it as a way of developing your list to become more all comers, because Mortuary Cult are super popular. Or Tomb Kings in general are super popular. So then you just redesign and think of a way of how can I change my list to make it so that I can play against armies like this, because you see stuff like this at the tournaments all the time. I know one of our friends, Tom Carley's just posted in one of the chats is he wants to be able to develop his list to be able to play against Mortuary Cult. He finds it a bit of a boogeyman, so he wants to get some practice games in to figure out and sit and have a chat with him and say what we can see if his army's really good against it or if it's really really bad and needs some changes and go from there.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting perspective, and definitely the psychology aspect can. I know from experience it definitely can put you into not like a negative mind space, but it does. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You think you can't win, so you don't win. From that point of view.
Well, we played a few times before, haven't we? Where you're like, oh, you're using Tomb Kings, and you get a bit of a slouch about it, and you can tell. I can tell from when I look at my opponent, and with any game you play, tell you look at your opponent with the army that you're using. When they look at your stuff and look at your list or whatever, you're talking about it, their body language, and what they say, you can almost choreograph that you're going to win because they're so negative. They're not going to play at the top of their game. They're going to be they're going to do silly things because they think, oh, it's not worth it. So here you go, throw this out, just charge this aimlessly because I lost anyway. And they'll have that attitude, you're going to lose. And then that's probably going to make you feel worse. But if you try and switch it around and think differently, it's like, right, well, I want to win this game or I want to learn, sit and have a chat with your opponent, say, right, this is a difficult game. I probably can't win this. Fine. So what are your thoughts? Is there anything you're scared of in my army? Or is there anything I could do, do you reckon, that could beat you? Now, your opponent might not sit there and go, like, if you just do this and this, you're going to beat me right now. And then let's do it. And then you do it. Yeah. But you can get a constructive chat about it and then learn something. If you take anything, if you want to go to tournaments regularly, at least anyway, and you want to do well, then have these as learning points. That's how you're going to develop as a player. If that's what you wanted to do, if that's what you want to do, if you're not there for that, fine. It is what it is. If you're happy just to go and have a laugh, and you do stumble upon playing an army that you don't like or don't enjoy, you feel like it's gonna ruin your day or it's ruining the game, then fine. But if you're wanting to go, well, this army's not going anywhere. The game is as it is right now. I've got a few more tournaments booked in with nothing changing. No FAQs are coming out. No new armies are coming out. See what I can do. And have those chats with other players. I do it. I go through all the discords all the time, listen, get involved in all the chats, see what everyone's up to, what rules are being talked about. You learn loads that way. There's loads of Discord chats, loads of Facebook groups, loads of WhatsApp chats, loads of Facebook Messenger chats. Everyone wants to talk to about Warhammer anyway, so they'll all add you in.
Oh, bro. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, thanks very much, Andy, for obviously coming on to your own show and being a guest, which I'm sure was a nice
Yeah,
change of pace. And I think it's really cool to learn about how someone else's tournament went. But that is everything, I think, for now. Is there anything that else you want to cover, Andy, before we go?
probably talk too much at this point.
You probably
But no,
talked too much.
I'm good.
Never,
I'm good.
never. Okay, bro. Okay. Well, thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions about the list, about the tournaments, please just leave a comment. I'm not going to ask you to like and subscribe because I hate that. But if you do have anything that you want to contribute, please just leave us a message, and we'll speak to you hopefully soon. I did want to do regular videos, but again, wife and kids and Christmas, and everything else,
Being sick.
and Andy dying multiple times over the past sort of 4 weeks. Um, right on cue, thank you. And we will see you in the next one when we are able to. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Oh, you're welcome, Andrew. Bye bye.
See
Bye
ya.
bye now.